all those who are sick or having trouble traveling. Keep us safe on these icy roads. And thank you for our government that does help us to take care of all of these roads and all of these things that we need here in Bradley County and in the city of Cleveland. Forgive us for our sins, and thank you for the gift of your Son, Jesus Christ. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. So just a couple of announcements before we get going. Have a seat, Cliff. We had a board meeting today, and not a lot went on, but we are changing softwares for our communication through international, and of course it will have some effect on dues and everything, as far as paying the dues and paying them online, and I've got to find out exactly what the charge is for that and all that. So we're putting all that together now and should have it together by the end of middle of February, and I'll let everybody know as we get closer to it. Lydia's working on it as well. There's only going to be 3 administrators, myself and our treasurer and our secretary, and the software is completely compatible to each computer. So if she enters a new member, it'll be on all 3 of them, which doesn't happen now. So it's really a benefit. We are pleased to have our guests. We've got a Kiwanian guest from Florida, Port Charlotte, and Seth. And you want to introduce the other 2 folks? Okay.
Sure, I'm Dustin Roberts. I'm with the city IT.
Good deal. Glad to have you guys. Glad to have Tom Cassidy here, projected member here in about a month, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. And Kim Brooks, we're glad to have you, and I want to give you a few minutes to talk about your United Way campaign. Before I introduce our guest, who is the president of Rotary, Kevin Brooks. Oh, wait, he's mayor also. I forgot about that. So, Kim, if you would, please.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about United Way. We are so close to wrapping up this year's campaign. We are at 93% of our 1.5 million goal, so that is really good, but we're so close. We will end this campaign on February 29th, and I spoke with Stephanie earlier last week, and she said this year we have had more corporate sponsors and community people giving than ever before, and we truly believe it's because of Cleveland growing like we are. And, you know, the good thing about United Way is all of our funds that we raise stay in our community. And so it helps our local people, 41 different organizations that we are able to give that money to. And if you have an organization that you want to start contributing to United Way, you can decide what organization you want to give, whether that be Caring Place, Habitat, or whatever. You can designate where you want your funds to go. So if you haven't given, we would love for you to give this year, and thank you for allowing me to give you an update on that.
Happy to have you. Thank you so much. And that was one of our organizations we contributed to this year, was the Caring Place, along with 13 others. So it was a good year for that. We had a good fundraising year last year. I don't have anything else. Yes, Cliff. We do have a Mr. Kiwanian. Okay. Well, of course. That's why it was a mystery.
Very friendly group today. Lots of people came around and shook hands and so forth, so kudos to everybody for doing that. This person hasn't been here in a couple of weeks, but he did come around, shake my hand, and reintroduce himself basically. It's Rodney Burke.
Oh, all right. Way to go, Rodney. Good job, Rodney. Great. Continued prayers for Larry Carpenter, and that's very important. We've been doing this now for a few months. So, Kay.
I'm going to pass around our speech judging sheets again. That's not till March, but we want to be sure we've got plenty of judges. The first week will be the 4th of March. And we'll be at Cleveland State for that. We'll
Sounds great. Thank you.
We'll have other sign-up sheets for other activities for March as well. Those
Right.
dates will get closer.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Kay. Well, at this time, Bruce Bradford is out. His wife is having some issues and some health issues, so we are praying for him and his wife as well. So at this time, let's have a warm Kiwanis welcome for Mayor Kevin Brooks.
Well, thanks so much. I'm so thankful that you all have already heard from the best thing about the city of Cleveland, the First Lady. And it's no surprise to me that they are 93% towards their goal. And I'm incredibly proud of her and Andrew Dinsmore of Publix Grocery Store, who are the co-chairs for this year's United Way campaign. And it just really shows the kind of city that we have. The 41 organizations that they sponsor. As Chuck said, thanks for wearing pants today, Chuck. As Chuck said, the 13 organizations that he had shorts on Saturday. It was freezing cold at the league game. The 13 organizations that your organization sponsors, the dozen or so organizations that the Cleveland Rotary Club sponsors, not to mention our Civitan Inclusive Playground and all the events that they sponsor. So the charitable organizations and service organizations of our city truly make Cleveland not just the city with spirit, but truly an amazing place to live and work and raise our families. I am thankful that Mrs. Brooks is here. She's not always able to be with me at these exciting events. I'm incredibly grateful for Dustin, who plugged all this in, and Seth, who wrote it all. And I think Joe Fivas was here. I think he had a phone call or something he had to take. There's always something happening 24 hours a day with the city. And our city manager was here, and I think he's going to be back. But Tom Cassada, our councilman who is here, gets to get all the credit today. He is the only voting councilman in the room. And really, that is where we begin this presentation today. Thanks, guys, for getting all this worked out for me. I think this is right. There we go. It is the hard work of the city council, of which Tom Cassada serves so brilliantly, that during the bad times, 2020, 21, when everything else was closing, when everything else was turning badly, our city council, in their wisdom, took it upon themselves to take this opportunity and turn the city coffers, the city balance sheet, to a positive. Up to that point, and this is not new information, but it's still something that's incredibly important to talk about, almost 65% of our debt was variable. Now, there's a couple of banking friends in the room. There's a couple, I see a Hall of Fame coach. It doesn't take a whole lot to figure out if 65% of your debt can vary and change according to the interest rate, how much trouble we have as a city balancing our budget, planning for the future, making the investments that we need to make, like this weekend, buying lots of salt and making sure we had all of our roads covered. It's an incredibly expensive undertaking. Mr. Fivas reported that we used more salt this week for this storm than is so far on record for the city of Cleveland. It was our largest consumption. But up to that point, a few years ago, 65% of our debt was variable. Incredibly difficult position to be in. This city council and Tom Cassada took it upon themselves to vote to get our city out of that debt structure. Now only 5% of our debt is variable. The rest of it is fixed, which we now know how we can budget. We now know how much our monthly bills are going to be. We all do that at home. We have a monthly bill plan. Now the city of Cleveland has a great plan going forward, and we're able to invest in our future, and we'll talk about that very soon. Public safety is the number one thing people talk about when they talk to the city officials, the mayor, the city council. They want their city safe. We are so proud of our Cleveland Police Department, in the top 3% of all police departments in America with their CALIA rating, top 3% of fire departments with our ISO rating of 2. We received a $2 million grant to fight violent crime and purchased 2 new fire trucks in addition to an enormous number of new cameras, which a grant is allowing us to install on the Greenway. Mrs. Brooks and our 85-pound golden doodle, thank you, Dr. Lane, who rescued our dog, loves to walk on the Greenway. But we do get lots of reports that there are folks on the Greenway, on the benches, that possibly shouldn't be there. So these cameras are allowing the Cleveland Police Department to track and keep safe 24 hours a day. I'm looking to Seth and Dustin. I think at least 3 of these have been installed, and there's another 7 I heard on the way. So we are rapidly covering all of the length of the Greenway. It started there at the Raider Drive, and it's being very, very well received. Industry has never been at a greater growth trajectory for the city of Cleveland than now. We've had 2,000 jobs announced in the last year, over $500 million in investment. I gave this same talk last week to the other club that I'm involved with, and it happened to be that same morning that the Tennessee Economic Development Office called Doug Berry, in fact, at the chamber, and said, Mr. Berry, congratulations. This has not been put in a press release, but Bradley County, right here, the county we live in, the county seat where Cleveland is located, is #1 in the state of Tennessee for jobs and industry announcements. We beat Nashville, we beat Murfreesboro, we beat Cookeville, Clarksville, all the other cities that you hear about and read about. They are all looking at Cleveland and Bradley County because we this year are going to be listed as the #1. Now, with all of that growth does come an infrastructure challenge. I am not the first person to tell you we've got a little bit of traffic on Paul Huff Parkway. The good news is we have the City Council has voted to kick off the Build Cleveland's Future initiative, and there's over $130,000, almost $140,000 planned infrastructure improvements over the next 3 years. How many have seen the new Mouse Creek interchange at Paul Huff? The big 6 lanes. How many people think it's a good improvement? Hopefully, all of the intersections, all of the interchanges along the Paul Huff corridor are going to look like that within the next 3 years. We are not going to do it all at the same time. That was part of the wisdom of the council, saying we can't shut down all of Paul Huff at the same time to fix everything. So we started at Mouse Creek. You see the new mast arm red lights. You've seen the improved lanes in all directions. We're now going to move from Mouse Creek over to the Atkinson side, over to the Cleveland State side, and then we'll bounce back, come back across the interstate, and do the Peerless intersection, and then we'll end up with both the Stewart Road intersection as well as the Ocoee Street intersection. Is it going to be great? Yes. Do I ask for your patience? Yes. Senator Miller was senator at the time that we had Exit 20 improved down on the south side. And what folks love right now are the 6 lanes, beautiful wide bridge, wonderful free-flowing traffic. But there was a point where it was a 2-lane bridge, and we were getting reports that trucks from Coca-Cola and Peyton's, which is Kroger, were actually hitting mirrors because the bridge was so narrow. What people don't remember is the one summer that unfortunately TDOT had to take that down to a 1-lane bridge. Anybody remember that? Rodney does. My son sent me pictures because he was late to the movie theater because the traffic jam was so bad. And I said, Zach, 2 things. You can't text and drive, so you're breaking the law. The other thing is, as soon as we get it fixed, I promise you, it will be worth it. And I think today we can all say that Exit 20 is wonderful, but it did take a while to get to that point. I will ask for your patience as we fix all of these intersections on Paul Huff. And in addition to that, there's plans for Michigan Avenue, Mouse Creek. There's so many other things that we've got to improve, and all of that is included in this $138 million infrastructure plan. Parks, quality of life. I talked about a minute ago all these industries that are choosing Cleveland. It is amazing and quite frankly surprising to me that so many of these companies are choosing Cleveland because of our quality of life. I really give commendations to the city council. It is their initiative to improve the quality of life in Cleveland by approving and adding a new Avery Johnson Park, the new Mosby Park improvements, the new Civitan Inclusive Park improvements, the new Fletcher Park Disc Golf Course, and one park that's not mentioned in Councilman Cassada's district will be the new Jim Sharp Park on Candies Lane, and it will be the newest addition. These companies, S&K, Canon, back from Germany, Wacker, when they first came here, said, we love your greenway, we love your parks. We want to build companies in cities that think about the quality of life of our employees, and we want to be in Cleveland. The new SK, by the way, is the first industry that's going to build both a dog park and childcare at their facility. So you can take your pet to work, you can take your child to work, and all of that is going to be really revolutionary in our region. Realtor friends here in the room and folks that ask me all the time, where are all these people going to live? All of these jobs that are coming our way. I asked Seth and the team, and they've pulled the permits. 432 new construction permits are being issued, have already been issued, and that's a value of over $200 million. These are not, we hope they come or we think they're coming. These are actually permits that have been issued and paid for by the developers and builders. So we know that this inventory is right around the corner. I get it. There is a lot of growth in Cleveland. If you live in the 3rd District with Councilman Cassada, the new developments that are on Free Will and Candies, to the north side where Kim and I live, the new developments along Northley Highway, there's a lot of housing coming, and we believe that all of these new industries are going to find plenty of places to live and raise their families. In addition to Tree City, which we've been proudly awarded for the last 30 years, this year, thanks to Seth Sumner, who's here today, we were awarded Bee City USA. Pollinators are important. We wouldn't be Tree City without those bees. And so I was thrilled to be able to add Bee City USA, and you would not believe the internet attraction that this gets, that people who are very concerned about the environment, that are very concerned about our pollinators and local honey, which is very important to those of us that have allergies. It's a thrill to be able to add this to our city. In addition to the restoration of the Cherokee Hotel, we received a $300,000 grant from the state for downtown improvements to facades and existing businesses downtown. Now, you do have to be in the Central Business District. I was looking for Caesar. The Elks Lodge would qualify to get a facade upgrade if you apply through the Main Street system that is put in place. There's a board that is meeting to discuss which businesses will get this. But again, it is free money from the state. Now, if Dr. Stanberry were here from Rotary, he would remind me it's not free money, it's your money. It's tax dollars that we all sent to Nashville, and they are returning it to us in the form of this grant. Part of the recipient of this grant, if this downtown improvement, is going to be the Cherokee Hotel. I was thrilled to find out from the staff that we qualify for both federal and state historic restoration grants, and it really is going to take all of that because, as Councilman Cast and I have been told by the staff, the more they peel back 100 years of life in that building, the more surprises we find. The big surprise was positive. There was the existing white and black mosaic tile in the floor is still there, and the existing crown moldings, all of the drop ceilings, which is exactly what this is here at the Elks Lodge. When they peeled all that back, the original 100-year-old original floor and original ceilings are still there. Some of the walls have been moved, and we're going to put that back. That's the interesting thing about a historic grant. You have to restore it to its historical accuracy, which is costing a few dollars, but we're thankful for the grants that we received, and we think that renovating this downtown jewel is going to be a great part going forward in our future. In addition to that area, we did receive not one but two grants about the downtown railroad elimination crossing. Anybody heard of a bridge that keeps getting run into? Anybody heard about that? Just checking. Well, two things. We can't lower the road because it's a state highway, and we can't raise the bridge because it's owned by Norfolk Southern. So what do you do? What is the fix? We believe the fix is going to be a railroad crossing elimination there and moving it to a new flyover bridge on 3rd Street. If you think about this in your mind's eye, think about Starbucks. I know that's a long way from the railroad tracks, but if you think about starting there and moving over from Inman Street 1st and then 3rd, creating a new pathway, a new truck route, as it were, on a few blocks over from Inman, and then having a flyover bridge starting somewhere around the old woolen mill. There's a couple of big empty parking lots over there. Going across, elevated above the railroad, and then landing in what is called commonly the abandoned Whirlpool site. I do have an update. I asked Joe last week for an update on that. We are actually closer than ever negotiating with Phoenix. It's no longer owned by Whirlpool. That's a little bit of a Facebook rumor. Whirlpool sold it, divested itself of all that contaminated property to a holding company called Phoenix. They're out of Minnesota, I think. Milwaukee. I knew it was an M. It was an M word. They're out of Milwaukee. I love Milwaukeeans. They just think differently than I do. Jeff, I love lawyers, but there's a whole lot of lawyers involved, and we've just got to get it figured out, but we're closer than we've ever been on getting that done. That's the first thing on looking forward, the Whirlpool development. The second thing is a land bank authority. I'm really excited. This has never been done in Cleveland. In fact, the legislature gave 3 cities before us the legislative approval to create a land bank authority, Memphis, Knoxville, and Nashville. We're the smallest city to attempt it, and we're the 4th only city in Tennessee to attempt it. What it does is it gives us the ability to invest some of your money, some of your tax dollars, into a land bank and be able to reach in and buy some of these old abandoned properties, sound like a familiar thing downtown, and develop them correctly. Get them off the empty, they're not paying taxes. They're old, they're abandoned. Some of these houses downtown that you've seen, the Banner did a great article on it recently. And so we're very, very thankful that this has been approved by the city council and going forward. Tinsley Park renovations, I get it. My granddaughter cheers and does tennis in Tinsley Park. We got to fix the driveway. We got to fix the parking lots. They're just now pulling down, unbelievably, 30-year-old chain link fence that's just never been replaced. And so it's going to take a while. We're going to fix all of those bathrooms and concessions when you pull in that are in front of what you all remember as the old softball field. All of that's going to be new, 12 new pickleball courts. Dr. Chafin is cheering. I played pickleball twice now, and I enjoyed it immensely. I can tell you I had no idea of the interest and love of pickleball until we started this project. Councilman Casta can tell you, we hear about that probably more than anything else. 12 new courts are coming. One of them is going to be a championship tournament court with bleachers and lights. So we're going to be able to host tournaments. We're going to be able to do it right in the middle of downtown Cleveland. The Inman Street Corridor Project, again, the Banner's done a great job helping us get the word out. Seth had an informative meeting a few nights ago at the museum. Very, very positively received. Cumberland Avenue in Knoxville is a great illustration of what can be done. No, we are not trying to close Inman Street. We're not trying to shut down Inman Street. We are simply trying to make it more pedestrian friendly, so shops and restaurants and pedestrians will feel safer walking along Inman Street. Take out one of the lanes and replace it with turn lanes, because right now, let's face it, if you're driving on Inman Street and the guy in front of you decides to turn into Regions Bank and you don't see them in time, it's a serious problem, not to mention that railroad crossing a few blocks down from that area. So it's going to be a great improvement, and we're looking forward to it. The Downtown Beautification Project, we're going to redo Johnston Park, lots of planters, lots of street signs, and then I mentioned the downtown improvement grants already. The 25th Street traffic improvements, there's a great big gully that runs down the middle of 25th Street with some plantings and some Santa Fe kind of rocks down the middle. We're going to improve all that. The state is actually going to pay to make some new J-turn improvements, I think in front of McDonald's and some of the other areas, so that's going to be a lot safer. The Rotary Gateway Sign Project, that's already going in, right there behind, or across the street from Starbucks, behind the store that's on the corner there. There's gonna be a new park connecting to the new part of the Greenway that's been approved. I mentioned the Peerless and Paul Huff improvements, 25th Street improvements, and then the federal government, our friends at the federal level under Chuck Fleischman's leadership on the Appropriations Committee, are helping us with Exit 27 improvements, and that's gonna be a great improvement for Paul Huff. Candies Creek Greenway, there's 3 new miles of the Greenway in Councilman Cassidy's 3rd District. It is absolutely gorgeous if you've not had a chance to walk that. Those of us coach Alltop, it's the old Rolling Hills area, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful addition to the Greenway. The new Sharp Park, which I mentioned earlier, under Quality of Life, and then the Paul Huff Parkway improvements, the new downtown corridor, new Greenway Nature Park. In addition to this new extension of the Greenway, the plan is to have an area where we can have schools and classrooms. The ultimate plan would be to connect the new Candies Creek Cherokee Elementary, Cleveland Middle School, all the way to the new Jim Sharp Park, cross over under Fletcher Park, under the interstate, and be able to connect all of these children and all of these neighborhoods to the Greenway system, which I think is a great idea. And then the College Hill sidewalk, literally just steps from where we are right now. From the College Hill, the historic College Hill area, coming down Gaunt Street, crossing over Central, and connecting to downtown, which we think is greatly needed. I mentioned Michigan Menace. We've got Whirlpool on one side and the airport on the other, and why we haven't improved that before now, I don't know, but we're really excited about the renovation plans. Jetport hangars, we have 6 new hangars being built right now. The council approved that, but we have 26 requested. There are 26 people that have said, I will pay you today for an airport hangar, but we just don't have the space or the hangars to sell them. So there's incredible growth and expansion for that. We've got the 2 federal stormwater projects from the Corps of Engineers. Johnston Park, I mentioned new lights at the soccer complex. I wish Councilman Estes were here. He's led the charge on that. Thousands of kids every weekend. Adding lights and adding better improved turf fields are going to allow us to host even more tournaments out there. And then for my friends who are very concerned about the aquatic program, the Cleveland Aqua Tigers, and some of the other programs, that the Tinsley Pool is getting very old, and the Denning Center, Rodney, the old YMCA pool, is getting very, very, very old and end of use, end of life. We're very grateful to our friends at the YMCA that have been helping us and in discussions with trying to figure out a future until we can get an aquatic center. Councilman Casta, I don't know about you, but I think the downtown Whirlpool area would be a great spot for a huge aquatic center. Whatever we do with Whirlpool, we have to keep that concrete capped. Seth teaches me these new words. We got to keep it all contained, because what's under it is not great. But if we keep it contained and keep it capped, we can build whatever we want. Parks and Rec, the only thing we can't build on Whirlpool is single family residential. The EPA has said that's the only thing that we can't do. Sorry that I talked so fast. My apologies to our friends who are recording this for us, that I rambled so quickly, but there's so much. There's never been a better time. I know you think I'm saying that just because I'm the mayor. If I was just Kevin, Kim's husband, and Zach and Elizabeth's dad, and Henley and Harper's papa, I'd still tell you, there's never been a better time to be a business owner, to be a new resident, to be retired and moving to Cleveland. We have so many new residents coming to Cleveland to retire here. I met one just a few weeks ago, believe it or not, at Food Lion. Kim sent me over to the store. I was in, Chuck, you'll be happy, shorts and a ball cap. I didn't look like the mayor. And this lady recognized me. She said, "Aren't you the mayor?" And I kind of looked down. I thought, ooh, I'm so embarrassed. Yes. Sorry. And she said, "No, I want you to meet my mom. She just moved here from Nova Scotia." I said, yeah, I can't wait to meet her. Introduced myself. I said, "I don't look like the mayor, but I promise I am." And she laughed and said, "No, I've never met a mayor. We don't have those in Nova Scotia." And I said, "No, it's great. It's great to meet you." And I said, "What brought you here?" She said, "Well, obviously my family We wanted to be closer, but she said, after we did the research, what you offer, such low taxes, such a quality of life, such a low cost of living, and Senator Miller, no income tax. She said, this is the place we want to spend the rest of our lives, live out the rest of our lives. So I welcomed her to Cleveland and told her I promised I would not look this way the next time she saw me. So if you're watching, I do always like to leave a few minutes. I've got lots of friends in the room, and you got my cell numbers. If I didn't answer your questions, call me. David, please give Miss Phyllis, one of our greatest teachers of both of our children of all time. Please give her our best regards. Dr. Lane, thanks for all you've done for our family. I mean, I could go around there and Blake, been our eye doctor for our family for 20 years. Charlie, John, so many friends, and I'm so grateful to have this opportunity, not just to be your mayor, but more than that, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to come and just share and give you the excitement that I have trouble containing sometimes, because Cleveland is absolutely on the way up, and I'm so proud of it, so proud of all of you for giving me the chance to serve. Thank you. God bless you. So anybody but Rodney can ask a question. I'm kidding. My Vice President. Charlie.
Years back, talking about the interstate, I think it goes from Ooltewah, White Oak Mountain to exit 20, we're going to run 3 lane each,
Yes, sir.
and then from exit 20 to 27, we're going to stay 2 lanes each.
Yes, sir.
Why are we staying, why are we not 3 lanes all the way?
Money. It's a great question, and I'm very grateful that the same guy I mentioned a few minutes ago that helped us with our appropriation for Exit 27, Congressman Fleischman, also got the appropriation for White Oak Mountain. He lives in Ooltewah, and actually, when he's home from Washington, I see him all the time in Cleveland. He and his wife love to eat at Aubrey's and spend a lot of time here. I'm thankful for that. And he led the charge on that because it's a very expensive, just the White Oak extension, that's like $400 million. It was $1 billion to do. Representative Watson, at the time he was chairman of transportation, he introduced a bill to do that, and the price tag came back from the federal government at $1 billion, which did not get funded. What?
20 to 27 will stay like it is.
That is correct. There is room for expansion, and we're hoping that the federal government will continue their investments. I will say this, they are expanding the ramps and lanes at exit 27. Why would they be doing that if there wasn't something in the future in the works? So I haven't been told, I haven't been promised, I haven't even seen a diagram, but you are correct. Right now it's going to stop at exit 20, but I believe in the future, Lord willing, and we're all still here, we'll see future expansion because they are going to invest quite a bit of money to make the lanes and the exit ramps wider at 27. To me, that's a signal that things will continue in the future. Let's just pray that.
Got a good architect for the Cherokee building, John Thurman.
We do.
My son plays baseball for him, my grandson, 10-year-old in Austin, so he's excited about coming down and working with you guys.
Well, and thank you for bringing that up. You know, the company that won this bid, the council voted on these companies. There is a duplicate, a twin of this building. In fact, the architect used the model in the 1930s of our hotel and built the identical one in Knoxville. It's its twin sister. That same firm redid the one in Knoxville. So they've been there, done that. I know that's not good grammar.
Yeah, he's complimentary of you and Joe and all city council, John Thurman. when he comes
Well,
down.
the,
He gives me an update.
the staff and council get all the credit. I'm just part-time. I'm just part-time. John, Dr. Squires.
Well, first of all, thanks for getting the Clinton State area done, and I thank Joe for getting speed ramps put in, because that was critical. But I'm just curious, selfishly, Michigan Avenue and Menace, how do you accomplish that when those houses are like 10 feet off the road?
Well, and that's a great question, and you've actually, I'm not an engineer and I don't play one on TV, but that's the problem.
Yeah.
When these roads were built, Michigan, Menace, Mouse Creek, they all happen to start with an M, but all those roads are the same. Very narrow, very badly in need of widening, And the most expensive thing for a municipality to purchase is not the gravel and the pug and the asphalt. The most expensive thing is the right-of-way, and getting a landowner to sell us, that's Seth's job, not mine, 10 feet of their backyard, it's crazy difficult. I can just tell you Highway 60, I was still at the legislature when that got started, prior to my becoming your mayor in 18, 16, 17, we were acquiring, I think there were 39 parcels they had to buy just in that one little stretch of Highway 60. And I think it got down to everybody except for 3 said yes. And it was incredibly, incredibly difficult. We're running into the same opportunity at Michigan Avenue, Minnis. We hope that people will believe us, that we're going to make it so much better if you just give us a little bit of that creek, that gully on either side. Same with Mouse Creek. Mr. Fibus would tell you if he was here, if we just filled in the creeks and put culverts in there, that would help. Because my kids and grandkids live off Mouse Creek. You get 1 or 2 inches in either direction and you're in serious, serious trouble. But it's a great question. Right-of-way easement is the big challenge, and that's what we're dealing with right now. Thankfully, it's going very well. Chuck?
So, with the nonprofit organization, I'm actually on the finance committee at Family Promise, and one of the biggest issues we had last year was the paying out of motel rooms for families that didn't have housing, affordable housing, which we still can't find. With your permits that you have, where are you finding the real estate?
You know, it's interesting. It's a good question, Chuck. For those of you that are driving around Georgetown Road, they just built a brand-new house between 2 45-year-old houses. What developers are doing is they're finding unused single parcels, maybe 2 parcels, and they're acquiring them for single-family, but mostly multifamily. You're seeing a lot of rezoning requests. They're wanting to put a duplex or a triplex. The land is there. It's becoming increasingly hard to find big tracts of land, 40, 50, 90 acres. You're also going to see some of those in the next couple of months. The council has the opportunity to annex some of those farms that are contiguous with the city. The difficulty comes when it's non-contigual. When it doesn't touch the city limits, there's an entirely different process that's a lot more complicated. It's a good question, though. Oh, I got 2 in the back. Doctor?
Parking. That's, downtown, in going around to other little cities now that they have a little time to do that. You know, Murphy, LJ.
All right.
Driving downtown areas. And, parking is really a key. What are the plans for parking, you know, downtown?
Sure.
That's an issue. My wife and I drove by, we were gonna stop and walk around, no parking.
It's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up. It's actually the question I had for the staff the minute we talked about the city moving into the Cherokee. And I said, well, that's not going to work. If we're not going to tear down Roy's alternator, which ironically is also a historic building, believe it or not, historically old, but if we're not going to tear down Roy's, where are we going to park? And I really commend the city staff. We have leased 65 new spaces. You remember the grocery store downtown? I think it was either Cook's or Watson's. There's a parking lot, actually a parking deck right next to that building, and we've leased it for city employee parking. There's 65 new spots. Boom. In addition to that, the architects, Mr. Thurman, they have uncovered 13 new parking spaces around and behind the Cherokee Hotel between us and the United Way. And then the picture of the Inman Street corridor, some of the improvements on Inman Street are going to be additional on-street parking, and I think you're going to see a lot more of that. We started it with the First Street Square. You are right. Parking downtown is a premium, and Councilman Cassidy can tell you there is a drawing of a new parking deck for downtown, a multi-floor, three or four? Yeah, 3 floors. Cheapest place to build a parking deck is on property that we already own, so it would be, we're looking at behind the police department, just going up. It would help First Street, it would help Elks, it would help all of us. But ironically, the most expensive thing per square foot that you can build is a parking deck. Just ask our friend Forrest Preston, who built a very large one out at Life Care. He actually said, he was the first person I called. Mr. Preston, what does it take to build a deck, parking deck? He said, Mr. Mayor, you don't want to do that. Trust me. He said, it's a boondoggle. And I said, what's a boondoggle? No. Great question. Cliff, you had one.
Yes, the idea, not a plan, but the idea of consolidation of Bradley County schools, including city schools.
Are they talking about that, Cliff? Have you heard about that?
I don't know of anybody really talking about that, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Or do you have any?
Well, I'm glad to.
Yeah, yeah.
Your time's up.
Thanks. Looks like, yeah. Thanks very much for your time.
Same question to Gary last week.
Yeah. And so I'll say this. I love Mayor Davis. What a great thought. Great. I'm happy to talk about anything, but in my personal opinion, this is not political. This is my personal opinion. Former Senator Miller can tell you. The TCA, the Tennessee Code Annotated, is very clear. It would be a very expensive process. This Facebook rumor of saving money and costing the taxpayer nothing is just that. That's false. It is a very expensive undertaking to combine schools. Just call Hamilton County. Just call Shelby County. Just call Metro Nashville. The proof is there. This is not an easy undertaking, nor is it a cost-effective undertaking. The word that they use in the TCA, my Senator Frank can help me, diminutive. You can have no diminutive causation. It can't be 1 penny less for a city teacher going forward, which means every county teacher, every county cafeteria worker, every county janitor, every county bus driver, every county school employee would have to be matched to the city salary, pay, retirement, benefits. I've heard millions of dollars. I don't think anybody's done a tremendously deep dive on the city side, but I can tell you it would be a very expensive undertaking. We wish Dr. Dyer well. We stole him from Collierville. People forget that. He was a star, a rock star. In fact, my fellow colleague in the House of Representatives called me and said, "Do you know what you're getting?" And I said, "We are so excited that Dr. Dyer is coming our way." That's where his family is. That's where he chooses to retire. He's at the end of his career cycle, and we wish him so well, and we look forward to the process of replacing him, because we have our own award-winning city school system, which we at the city and the city council fully support, and we don't have any plans to do anything else. I hope that answers that question.
We appreciate the support. You all have been great to work with for years.
Any other questions? This has been so much fun. I always enjoy this. Thanks for the invitation. And next year, let's do the city first.
Thanks, Mayor Brooks. I appreciate it. And thanks to Mix 104 for being here today. I'm glad Steve didn't come, but I'm really glad. We did lose John Lee this past week. John was the past president of Kiwanis. I think it was during the time I was not in Cleveland, because I mentioned last week that Alan Jones and Lou Patton and I joined the same time in 1975, and Larry McSpadden joined in 73. So John was very instrumental in, when he was director at the downtown YMCA, for getting the racquetball courts built off the end, which he built 3 of them, and he became a very good friend of mine, and I hated to see him go. He was a member at Wesley, and really good man. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for everybody for coming, and next week we've got Chief Gibson, I think. I'm sorry, somebody said something. Oh, that was Bent. So I think we've got Chief Gibson next week, so we'll see y'all then. We are adjourned.